TN News.
Hi there, welcome to this episode of The Trading Bell. Thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you. My name is Malika Kazia. Today on the hot seat, we've got Mwenda Thuranira, the founder and CEO of Myspace Properties. Myspace Properties actually began in Mombasa in around 2008, and now they've also moved to Nairobi. It's been over 10 years, and they've joined the NSE Ibuka Acceleration and Incubation Program. It's been about a year since they've joined. So where is the company now? And more importantly, when it comes to properties, landlords and property managers, what is happening with the issue of rent? Where do they stand? He can give us a lot of insights there because many Kenyans are going to be having a challenge in meeting that rent payment on time, especially this month. So what is his take on that? We're going to find out much more and that as well. But first, take a look at his profile.
Mwenda Thuranira is the CEO of Myspace Properties, with extensive experience in real estate and property development. He has acquired acumen through hands-on experience in the USA, Dubai, and Kenya. He is a graduate with extensive knowledge on all current economic, socio and real estate matters. Mwenda majored in real estate at the University of Dallas, Texas, and real estate courses at the International School of Real Estate in the USA. Mwenda is also a member of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, Kenya Property Developers Association, Nyali Business and Residents Association, and the Rotary International.
Mwenda, thank you so much for making time for us today. Now, when we talk about, let's get right to the question that a lot of people are asking right now with regards to property, houses, and rent, is that, there's this debate that the onus of paying rent is actually on the landlord themselves who you're dealing with. The government may not have a directive necessarily saying, okay, everybody has to waive rent, but it's a case-by-case basis. So landlords are hopefully going to be understanding and say, okay, you know what, we understand this is a tough period, especially considering April. Up until March, a lot of businesses had something to go off on. But now when we're getting into April, the issue of rent comes up. What have you heard from a lot of landlords, property managers, when it comes to the issue of rent at such a time?
Okay, thanks, Malika. Of course, being in the tough times in business, in everything in life, also everybody's affected, especially the tenants, the landlords. But as you know, in this country, or in the world, there are three kinds of landlords. Number one, landlords, they're the landlords who depend purely on this rent for their upkeep, for their living. That means they inherited the property or they built a property and as a retirement package for themselves to be getting income out of it. So they don't have any other source of income apart from this. Number two, we have the landlords who are borrowed to build these properties. Of course, those ones, they owe the bank. Basically, the house belongs to the bank,
so
not
they're in a catch.
They are just administrators of that. We have number three. Number three, they are landlords who have many properties, many businesses. I mean, this is not a big thing. And those are the ones who can be philanthropic enough to give free rent, half rent, or something like that. But by the end of the day, the government cannot control that. And it will depend on the relationship between the tenant and landlord. Kama wewe ni yule wa kisungu mingi kutukana landlord, pambana na hali yako.
It's going to be tough. It's
going to be tough for you. But basically, it will depend on your relationship with the landlord. Okay. Talk to them. They are not bad people. Many people paint landlord in a bad light and stuff like that, but they are not. I've seen some landlords giving free rent, giving half rent or something like that. But purely depends on your relationship with them.
When it comes to the second type of landlord, now the person who is, like you said, the house actually belongs to the bank because they're servicing that loan based on the income, the rent that's coming in every month. Is there some sort of understanding that they can then have with the banks? Because we did see the president's directive and, of course, the CBK's measures when it came to loan repayment and the understanding of banks. Has there been any word on that front?
They said they will waive out some payment or extend the period of payment of the loan. But you know, as in Kenya, how that takes time to happen. It can be a directive, but for it to be actualized, it takes some time. So hoping it can be a reality. So especially the people who are borrowed, they can be relieved a little bit. Of course, if you have to pay a loan, you took a loan to open a business, let's say to open a salon, a restaurant, a bar, and then you have clothes, you have employees, you still have to pay them something to keep them going. I mean, it's very tough for entrepreneurs at the moment, and we are facing a lot of challenges, especially even with our tenants who we lease out businesses. They have closed down. The moment you start asking them for money, they are like, now you have seen the business is closed.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they have to understand it's your business too. So it's a catch-22.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a cycle. Everybody is affected from the other person. When we talk about the issue of now property development, you know, of course, you must be knowing of a lot of people who are in construction. Have you seen that a lot of that has halted at the moment or not yet?
Yeah, of course, development is halted at the moment.
Okay.
You see, since last year, the last 2 years, of course, it has not been good for property developers. As you have seen, there are so many cases of incomplete projects. There are so many cases of stored projects. There are so many cases of, for example, people paid for some land, they never got them, and stuff like that. And I mean, it's not been a good season, and this does not make it any better. In fact, it makes it worse. If somebody wanted to invest, for example, to do a project, of course, at the moment, they are holding back because working is a problem. You can't have many workers in the site. So we have to wait for the period to end so that we can get full throttle. But now you'll see there's a demand and supply thing. So because for the last 2 years, not many developments have really taken off in a good way. Like Nairobi, for the last 6 months, the approvals has been a problem. There have been no new approvals. There are so many pending approvals. So that shows there'll be a gap between demand and supply. So for me, I would say, if somebody has the cash, this is still the best time to build. I know it's a cycle, and real estate is a long-term business. It's not something you buy today, you sell tomorrow. You build a house to last 100 years. So, I mean, it's a cycle, long-term, and think more long-term if you're in that business. You have to have patience, you have to have a lot of faith, and a lot of hope that things will be better.
It's a long haul.
Yes.
When it comes to, of course, you know, going back to President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda, affordable housing is a big part of that. And, you know, we see year on year the housing deficit growing by 200,000 units, and it keeps rolling on. Do you think that private developers, how have you watched them get engaged in this process, and what more can they do? Of course, a pandemic aside for now, to keep on pulling forward that initiative to bring more houses into the market and affordability as well?
Yes, affordable housing is a way to go. But to start with, I'll start with the low, the completely low. There are people who cannot afford. There are people who cannot afford a rent of 2,000 a month. There are people who can, of course, mortgages out of touch for them. So when it comes to provision of housing, especially to the poor, it should be a government initiative. It's an infrastructure initiative. Just the way the government builds a road, that's the same, or a stadium. That's the same way it should build for the poor. We have seen it in other parts of the world where it works very well. But now when it comes to the other people who are working, is the streamlining the mortgage industry. We have seen right now they have established the Kenya Mortgage Company, which is a good step forward. With a proper mortgage structure, of course, not charging like the double digits like we see at the moment. A mortgage is 14 or 16%, whereas it's a long term and there's a more solid security. I mean, somebody to pay the same amount of mortgage they pay for a house as they pay for the car, is unacceptable. When it comes to mortgage, since it's a long term, somebody can get a mortgage for 20 years, they should be able to get like 6%, 7%. If you go to other developed markets, the mortgage is 3%, 4% interest rate. which is a main entrance of uptake of mortgage. We have seen in Kenya, we have less than 50,000 mortgages. Of course, that's way less than 1% with a population of 40 million Kenyans. So the mortgage needs to be streamlined. In fact, the government should be working more into fixing that, since if the people have the money, people can get mortgage to buy houses, the government will not need to build. In fact, the government will just need to build for the poor. The other guys working, they'll sort out themselves. The developers in this country can build more than any government if they have buyers. If they have guaranteed uptake, for them, they'll build every day.
Okay.
Yes.
Coming back to Myspace itself, now we've seen that, of course, you first had your full base in Mombasa, and now you've also come to Nairobi, and it's both areas. Is there a lot of, what kind of differences and factors do you see that are very different when it comes to property between Mombasa and Nairobi, for instance, or different areas, really, of the country?
Okay, Mombasa and Nairobi, of course, there's a big difference. Like in Mombasa, we were there for 10 years and we were well established. And of course, it took time before we go to that level when we know everybody, when we know who to deal with, when we build the clientele. I mean, it took some time. But now when it comes to Nairobi, it's like we had to introduce ourselves afresh. I mean, there are already guys existing in that business. And you don't come just in one day and push them off. I mean, you have to work with them till you get to...
And create your space.
Yeah, agree to split. Of course, collaboration is a key thing in this business. In real estate business, without collaboration, you are not going far. Since, let's say one person has the client, the other person has the buyer. So in one person has the seller, the other one has a buyer. So if you guys cannot get together and agree on something, you're not going anywhere. So in real estate, you always have to work with others and collaborate more, and that's what we have been doing. The difference between Nairobi and Mombasa, of course, you've seen Mombasa, there's more loyalty. If, for example, you have a client, even if somebody else comes and tells them how sweet ones, all the sweet ones, they cannot leave you. But Nairobi is about the value, it's about how much, it's about the time, it's about who is there at that particular time. There's no much loyalty in Nairobi. Also, Mombasa guys, they are more sincere. Probably to say that, but Mombasa guys, they are more sincere than Nairobi people.
So be more straightforward. They'll tell you
exactly
as it is.
They'll tell you, I know.
Okay.
But now when it comes to